GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you look a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered. And that's MVS and Justin Watson with some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues. If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up. Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow, comma, semicolon, period, next sentence, to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Is that
yes? Let's go! So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
and Jay
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude.
he? How good? GMGP. It is Friday, September 6th, 2024. Y'all decided to wake up with Ray and Jay. NFL, we had it, baby. JRich, give me the air horns. Chiefs, Ravens, 2024 NFL season has kicked off. We got games tonight, college football on Saturday, and y'all know what's popping. Big games on Sunday. Who we got in the damn building? What's popping with you? Ty Claire in the building. Make sure you check into the Dynasty Trade Show dropping on Saturdays. What's happening with your Ant 10 GNGP to you too? Jordan Baker, Josh Jones, Stanley. Man, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes and those rushing yards. F throwing that ball. Lamar Jackson, what's going down with you? Leo Scott. I see Marlon Hunter, Joe Green in the building. We are here. What's happening with you, Marlon? Got the Fly Eagles fly going. We got the Eagles today. Likely over Kelsey. We shall talk about it. Nah, Terrell, the voice is good, baby. The voice is really struggling from baseball, man. Yelling at them damn kids. Run through first. Run, throw to home. All of that. We got practice tonight, games this weekend. But we are excited today because the show, we got to talk about it. Reacting to the game last night. College football players to look forward to this weekend. And other games. We're going to talk about them prop bets because it's funny, JRich. We look at those lines. Oh, yeah, Kelsey, easy over. This person over City. And you get to the game and it's all damn under. Vegas be knowing. JRich, how you doing this morning, big dog?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, the Vegas over-under, I believe, ended at like 46.5 or 47, the game.
They be
27
knowing,
to 20, right? Just like that.
And,
you know, they didn't get the Isaiah Likely call as right as you did, but, you know, they did get some things right, so I will have to give them that credit. But, yeah, it was tough out there. If you had the Kelsey touchdown, that didn't hit. You know, we got Henry and Pacheco. But outside of that, it felt like for fantasy purposes, the game was a little bit lackluster, but we'll get into it.
We'll get into it. Appreciate everybody jumping in. If you're new, we have a damn good time. Friday shows, we are going to have some fun. React to Thursday football. Got some college players and games you need to pay attention to. And then we are going to try to get into as many games as we can, talk through some of those lines, what we think, but we've got to get into the Chiefs and the Ravens. But JRich, last night in the middle of the game, halftime, I dropped a first-round rookie mock, 2025. First-round single QB. No QB, JRich. Single. I'm showing love to the single QB. New year, new me. New season, new me. Single QB. Picks 12 through 1. Just wanted to really, and the way that we're doing it this year, Jay, because normally what people do is these mocks come out in August and July, and people just stick with them. They don't have any guts. Yeah. They have no balls. They just stick with whatever somebody told them. That ain't what we're doing. So there's no goddamn Evan Stewart in the first round of this mock. So stop it. It's not.
Where was Luther Burden? Because I think we're having a discussion about him today.
Had him 106. Had Luther Burden 106. Luther Burden is right outside of that blue chip top 5 tier, but make sure you check that out on the channel. Also, if you did not see it, Dynasty Theory. Make sure you check out the new Dynasty Theory show on the channel. They're going to be dropping stuff every single, what did it come out? Tuesday, JRich? Dynasty Theory
Tuesday
comes
nights,
out on Tuesdays,
8 p.m.
nights. And on Sunday, they will be doing a start-sit show here on the channel, so make sure you check that out. I think they're going like an hour and a half answering all your start-sit questions. But JRich, man, we've got an awesome, amazing opportunity with Bleacher Report this fall. We're going to be doing a lot of work with Bleacher Report. I don't know why they want us to keep coming back, but they do. So today we will be recapping the Chiefs-Ravens game at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Bleacher Report app. And they gave us a national national topic, Jay. They gave us the big thing. So make sure y'all show up and show out. We want to get over 1,000 people in the stream. They said if we do that, they'll do something very special for our community. So if you're around, open the Bleacher Report app at 5 o'clock. Tap in with me and JRich as we recap this Ravens-Chiefs game. Another fun, engaging format. And, of course, the people that pay the bills, Underdog Fantasy. Yes, if you got money last night, let's put some more money in so you can get up to $1,000, man. You get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. All you got to do is go to Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code ALLGAS. You get picks. You get all this money. Hey, you can play these games with JRich and I, and you will follow my picks, and you will win money, unlike Jordan Richards. Jay, news. Let's talk about it. Jamar Chase is back at practice for the Cincinnati Bengals. How we feeling about Chase and the Cincinnati Bengals this weekend?
I feel okay, right? I feel like step one, right? Go to practice. Let's see what happens from here. There's still no deal, but we know that the Burrow deal got done in the final hours. We'll see if it ends up getting done. It seems like it could be trending towards that direction. Good to see him at practice. Do you still fear him missing the game? Because personally, I do, just a little bit.
Not really. Maybe a little, tad bit. Maybe
just a little bit, right? Like, I still think the holdout is possible, even though he's back at practice.
I don't know, man. I think if he shows up, you're at practice. If he's participating in team drills, they're not going to put him out there if he's not going to be involved in the game plan. I think they get something done. Wee bit nervous, JRich, but I think they ultimately getting something done with Jamar Chase. But he's back at practice. Step one, Christian McCaffrey, JRich. I just keep it real, because what we do in this space is no fears, no concerns. Now it's like calf Achilles came out. It was like, but it's always been the Achilles. It's connected, so I get it. I had an Achilles tear, so my calf bothered me as well. Are you a little concerned about Christian McCaffrey this year? Just simple question. Are you a tad bit concerned?
I mean, Ray, if you got him, you're stuck with him. And so I think all you can do is just spew positivity into the air.
Don't say it like you're not stuck with him. You've got
You drafted Christian McCaffrey 101. You're going to trade him?
No.
Well, then you're stuck with him. I think it's a little bit concerning, but if he says he's going to be okay, he's going to be okay, and I will just trust that and pray to the gods that he doesn't get hurt. I think that's all you can do. You drafted him, you have him, you're not trading him. You just got to pray that he's okay. He says he's fine. That's all I'll say. I think
your burner account is here. Swim is back. I don't know who Swim is, but anything you say, your burner account agrees with you unequivocally every time. What's popping, Swim? Swim is saying sell, sell, sell. Robert's saying the CMC is going to eat. He's too efficient. I'm not asking any of that. All I'm asking you is, are you a little concerned about the injury reports?
I'm a little concerned, yeah. It doesn't seem like it's getting better. It just seems like it's kind of lukewarm at best as to how healthy he is. I'd rather him just be healthy and we're good to go. It sounds like we're not quite there yet. So do you think they manage his workload because of this, if we're concerned? Maybe a little bit,
man.
Sure,
I'm concerned, but I'm still firing him up. I'm still putting him in the lineup. You're still rolling with him.
Still has the best touchdown odds on the week.
In underdog tournaments, you're still going to fire him up in draft. You're still doing it. So concerned, sure, but hopefully his calf and his Achilles is okay. Now, JRich, before we started, there was some more news. I heard it on the big TV out there, on the big kid TV out there. But Russell Wilson was apparently limited in practice, and it's not for certain that he's going to suit up on Sunday for the Steelers. So we could get our favorite player sooner. It's just been reported, Jay. 15 minutes.
This is what he's talking about on Good Morning Football?
This is what Russell Wilson, limited by a hamstring injury. They say he can't move around. What are your thoughts? How are you feeling about Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson, and your boy, Justin Fields, who might be on the field on Sunday?
You're telling me that this guy who's had a calf/hamstring injury all preseason, all training camp, limited, not working out, not practicing, now has it pop up just a little bit on the injury report, and I got to talk about Justin Fields in week 1? Ray, I'm already in shambles. This is ridiculous. He needs to play. We can't have week 1 Justin Fields Although I will say, Ray, and I mean this 100%, I do believe this is better for the passing game to have Justin Fields at quarterback. It sounds crazy, not necessarily because it's going to be more efficient or anything like that, but I think that when you talk about a passing ceiling, especially for a player who goes downfield like George Pickens, I think that does potentially exist with Justin Fields.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, Fields is gonna push the ball downfield. You know that. You know he's gonna try to take those shots. Garrison said he heard that yesterday as well about Russell Wilson. So something to keep your eye on with Pickens, with all those weapons, right? You're thinking about Freiermuth, the running game.
And Calvin Austin, I think, might play as well. That was
I'll tell you, with Pittsburgh, I am all in on Najee Harris and their rushing attack this season. I was listening to somebody, it was NFL Talk, speak about how, pretty much how available Najee Harris has been throughout his entire career, but how the Pittsburgh rushing attack and scheme was not conducive of success, and bringing over Arthur Smith, his run game. Basically, they said this is going to be one of the better running schemes Najee's been able to run behind. So give me all to Najee. For sure. Give me all to Jaylen Warren in Pittsburgh in 2024, Jay. So I think that's about all the news that we have to talk about. But we do have college football this weekend, and I do have some players to watch for us. So let's get into that right now.
Here's our players to watch this weekend.
All right, JRich, you got to watch the big dog from Oklahoma State. It's going to be a good matchup. Big 12 versus SEC. You got Arkansas versus Oklahoma State. OG2, Ollie Gordon II, my number one ranked running back in this class, taking on a very explosive Arkansas offense, JRich. I don't know if you've heard of Talon Green. He played at Boise State, dual threat quarterback. All I'm going to say is he looks like when he was running the ball, he wears number 10. He looks like he's another former number 10 rushing quarterback. Great. Just the way that he runs, his gait, his length. But Green, Jaquindon Johnson, and that Arkansas offense versus a very talented Oklahoma State offense. And it's not just Ollie Gordon. They got Brennan Presley, who's probably going to be a second or third round pick in the NFL draft, as well as Rashad Owens outside. Alan Bowman at quarterback. OG2 is somebody that we want to watch this weekend. Big-time game versus Arkansas, as well as I think probably the biggest matchup on the weekend, at least really setting this team up and setting this quarterback up, Jay, to be drafted high. And that's University of Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers traveling to the Big House to play Michigan. Let's go. SEC Big Ten matchup. I know the Michigan offense looked putrid last weekend. It was awful, Jay. But, I mean, this is a big performance for Quinn Ewers going to Michigan. This defense is still incredibly talented. You've got a top 5 pick in Will Johnson. Their defensive line is tremendous. I mean, this could really set Quinn up for that Heisman Trophy sort of run, set Texas up on a national championship path, and really kind of put Michigan in the shitter if they don't perform versus UT. You also have Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden on the outside for the University of Texas. So watching this game, there's a lot of fantasy football and NFL draft implications inside of this game. You've got to be tapped in. And then the final game and the final player that we need to watch, Jay, Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty travels to Eugene, Oregon this weekend. Probably his toughest test this season to face the Oregon Ducks. Dan Lanning and their Dylan Gabriel-led Ducks struggled mightily in week 1 against Idaho. 14-24 victory. This is probably Ashton Jeanty's toughest opponent. If he gets through this and survives the Oregon game, Jay, wheels are just going to be up. I mean, it's just going to be a dominant season for him. So those are 3 players in 3 college games that you need to be paying attention to, guys that are going to impact us for fantasy. And again, remember, 2025 first round single QB mock on the channel. Dropped that last night. JRich, let's get into it. Chiefs, Ravens, Mahomes, Lamar, 27-20. Kansas City got it done. JRich, where do you want to start? I think we need to start with the winning quarterback, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes was Mahomes. I thought he was great down the stretch. I thought the way he utilized all of his receivers was good. You know, you obviously saw Rashee Rice be involved early. He was able to get Worthy involved as well. I think the biggest question for everyone is what the hell was going on with Travis Kelce? 4 targets, 3 receptions, 34 yards. You did see him get doubled a little bit. We talked about how the main focus is going to be on Travis Kelce And so if he's disappointed, it's because Patrick Mahomes is more than willing to go to his other receivers. And he did that time and time again. He utilized Rashee Rice heavily. He utilized Xavier Worthy when he needed to. Noah Gray caught 3 for 37 as well, and he got an extension just before the game. So I thought Mahomes was good. The interception was kind of bad. He was trying to just make a play, get rid of it. Roquan Smith made a play on the ball. But outside of that, I thought Mahomes played a pretty clean game and delivered for fantasy owners. I mean, he could have had another touchdown. That would have been nice. But when they're running a reverse to where instead of the touch pass, that's going to result in a rushing touchdown instead of a passing touchdown. But it is what it is.
Yeah, Mahomes, he was 20 for 28 on the night, 71.5% completion percentage, 10.4 yards per pass attempt, 2 carries, did not do anything on the ground, sacked twice. I thought he was really, really good in that game. I thought he was in command of the offense. And quite frankly, Jay, the final score, I don't think it was really indicative of the game. I thought Kansas City was just far superior than Baltimore in every aspect of the game. When you look at the offensive line, some of the numbers that I saw from the O-line, this really kind of signifies what was going on there and why Baltimore struggled so mightily. When you look at the Chiefs and the Ravens, man, like the pressures that were given up by Baltimore, I mean, they were rotating damn linemen in, Jay, out the gate, first quarter, right? They allowed 8, according to PFF, they allowed 8 pressures, that offensive front for the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson was hurried 14 times compared to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. He was hurried 6 times and pressured 7 times against that offensive line. So the Ravens offensive line giving up a lot of pressure for Lamar Jackson, and you got a lot of 3 new starting offensive linemen up front. It was problematic. Just overall thoughts is this offense did not look good, Jay. And when I did my power ranking stream on Bleacher Report the other day, I had the Ravens like 5th best team in the league, and this was a part of the reason why, and we even talked about this on Wednesday, that they need another wide receiver. I said it in our chat last night. There's no maybe about it. Zay Flowers is good, but there's only so much you can do schematically with a 5'8" wide receiver that's not Antonio Brown, that's not Steve Smith. And I'm not going to put Zay Flowers in that category, but you roll out there. Rashad Bateman is not good, JRich. He's not good. Like, he's just not. He's not good. I don't care. If you want the metric to tell you who's good and who's not, fuck all that other stuff. ddfantasyfootball.com, use the Trinity tool. It's not just a score to show you what they're doing or if they're open or not open. It's telling you these are the wide receivers in offenses that are doing things to score you fantasy points, period. I don't give a shit what the separation looks like or what that looks like or this. Are you doing the stuff inside your offense to score points? We've got the tool to do that, and it said Rashad Bateman is a no-go. This is why yesterday when we were on the stream, you were all 2-5 easy over for Bateman. He's not good. He's not prioritized in this offense. And when Isaiah Likely is your most explosive player, that's of normal people size, it's just not going to end well. I'm very concerned. It's week 1, but the O-line is a problem. The lack of commitment to Derrick Henry was a problem for Baltimore, and I think both things can be true, Jay. The Ravens aren't in the position they're in to win the game without Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson also has to be better because before the Isaiah Likely toe tap, before the Zay Flowers, did he sit down or not sit down in the zone, he had Likely wide open on the end zone on a corner route. You've got to make that throw. You're a 2-time MVP. I don't care if it's week 1. You're Lamar Jackson. You're not Bryce Young. This isn't Davis Mills or Daniel Jones to where you expect them to probably have an errant pass. You've got to make that play, Jay. It's getting to the point now they have not won in Arrowhead since 2020. I think 2012, Jay, Baltimore. 2020, I think, something like that. I heard it this morning. This is on Lamar. And he's got to shoulder that, Jay. They're not in the position without him. So you got to give him all the credit in the world. But damn it, you got to come through. You can't miss that throw to Isaiah Likely in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're being a little critical of Lamar, a little bit, right? Like
thing with Lamar, it's not critical. I'm giving him all the praise. But when you're that guy, when you are that guy, you've got to make that play. That's an easy throw. That corner route to Isaiah Likely that's a routine throw. I'm not being critical. I'm not being hard. They're not there without Lamar because he was the only thing cooking on offense. but he's also got to make that play. If he wants to be viewed in that light, get over that hump, you got to make the play.
For sure, and I can agree with that. But I think, it's hard to give a guy credit, but then also say you got to make that throw, because there's a lot of plays that he made down the stretch that not everyone's going to make anyways, right? And then you're asking him to make another play that every quarterback apparently can make an easy throw. And so for me, the biggest thing was, one, you look at what happened last season in the first week. They almost lost to the Colts, if you recall that game, right? They didn't play very well in that game. The offense was stagnant. They started slow, and they weren't able to generate anything offensively, and they almost lost to the Colts in that opening game. You look at this game against the Chiefs, I thought they played much better. The offensive line was very poor, but personally, I thought that Lamar Jackson had tunnel vision, and that was his biggest issue. It wasn't so much that I thought that he was playing poorly, but he was very hyper-focused on Isaiah Likely or Zay Flowers, and most of the Zay Flowers plays were already designed to get him the ball very quickly and in space. And so you talk about Rashad Bateman and why he wasn't getting targets this side and the other, and I understand your point.
We're not talking about
but
Rashad
it's like
Bateman.
I think the problem with Lamar was whether it was the pressure and the O-line, he wasn't getting off his second read almost ever. It was 1-2 run, and that was the game plan for Lamar Jackson, and it worked for the most part. But I thought that the heavy utilization of Justice Hill was needed. They did operate well in the flats, getting their playmakers the ball where they needed to, and Likely was phenomenal underneath and even down the field at times for Lamar as well. So I think it's just a couple more plays on execution. I'm not really worried about the Ravens as a whole. I thought defensively they played the Chiefs quite well, and they did generate some pressure, but offensively they do need to improve. But again, when you look at what happened last year for the Ravens, struggling in week 1, I think they will continue to build and be okay. They do need another playmaker, but when Isaiah Likely's basically operating as your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, I think they'll be all right. And I think if that can continue, they'll be all right.
I'm concerned offensively about this team. I'm concerned offensively, and I know it's only week 1, but now the Chiefs have the head-to-head tiebreaker over Baltimore, right? So if Baltimore was number 1 seed last year, all roads, if things play out as they did last year, all roads are still going to lead through Arrowhead with them having the head-to-head victory. And I think you can absolutely be the reason for your team's success, and then also be the reason or contribute to the loss. That is a responsibility of being great. That is responsibility of being an MVP. That is the responsibility of being viewed as one of the most dynamic quarterbacks and playmakers in the NFL. So it's not being critical. It's holding Lamar Jackson to a higher standard than majority of the quarterbacks in the NFL. So it's not being critical, but you've got to make that play. Patrick Mahomes, Jay, for me, I don't know if you got this vibe, but we talked about his rushing yard line and 20 and a half and all these rushing attempts. What it looked like to me was a quarterback that trusted his running game, that understood he had multiple weapons to get the ball to, whether that be Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, a quarterback that felt comfortable with Rashee Rice being a primary option, and a quarterback that was appreciative of having a downfield threat like Xavier Worthy. This offense is going to be very good. And as good as Travis Kelce has been, when I'm watching that game, you know who the engine was of that team? Not Patrick Mahomes, because yes, he's the leader, he's the captain, all things go through him. It was the ground game of Isaiah Pacheco. And it wasn't like it wasn't that he had this monster rushing performance. He didn't go out there and run for 200 yards, 100 yards, 150 yards. But the tone against that physical defense, because Roquan Smith was flying, he really did help set the tone for that offense early. Great play calling. The addition of Xavier Worthy was just incredible. And this is why, Jay, all offseason, people would get on the stream and laugh and joke. He's too small. He's too this. He's too that. And I know he didn't have this monster. I think he had 3 targets on the game, blown coverage downfield. But you can see their commitment to trying to use him and how his speed will translate at the next level. And all I'm saying, and all I've said the entire offseason, is give me the guy tethered to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, who they said we're going to prioritize in the first round of the draft. This is why you draft Xavier Worthy, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, Xavier Worthy was ridiculous.
JRich.
It was unreal in this matchup. Yeah. What? Sorry, we good?
You froze up a little bit, but go ahead.
I would say, yeah, I thought Xavier Worthy was phenomenal. And like you said, it's not so much about the volume. That's more of the fantasy conversation. But the way they scheme him open, the way they get him the ball in open space, like, these are things you want to see. These are the things you saw early with Zay Flowers. Now, again, he's not going to get that Zay Flowers opportunity share in Kansas City. but just that ability to show out when you get your chances is what you want Xavier Worthy for. But I think, Ray, there's a big question as to, like, would you start him in fantasy football next week? This is a player who only had 4 opportunities in this game. Yes, he scored 2 touchdowns, but would you feel comfortable starting him next week? Because for me, the whole offense runs through Rashee Rice. Like, there will be weeks where Kelce has his weeks. This just wasn't his week. I'm not panicking on Kelce, but in my opinion, the engine was Rashee Rice. When Pacheco is only his longest carry was only 5 yards. So yeah, he's establishing it. They're, trying to stay balanced, all these things. But when you talk about moving the ball and making the big plays, that was Rashee Rice. He was the one that really kept this train moving over and over and over again. And for a guy that, some people weren't so sure as to how involved he would be, I think, Ray, you may be looking at a wide receiver 1 pretty easily with low touchdowns.
Jay, 37.5% target share. Of his 9 targets, 3 came out wide, 6 from the slot. 66.7 success rate for Rashee Rice. Nobody else on the team. I mean, Noah Gray had a 27% target share, but we're not counting him. You go down the line, Xavier Worthy, 12.5. Juju Smith-Schuster, 11.5. Justin Watson, 6.3. Rashee Rice, Jay, his ability to play inside and outside, this is what you got to trust the Trinity, dude. 7.34 in our model last year. That puts him in very good category for how he should finish this year. And you are absolutely right. You talk about who the engine is of the offense and the passing attack. Let's get right into it and talk about Rashee Rice versus that of Travis Kelce. And I saw somebody in the chat say, here it is right here, MV Prof. Chiefs game plan was to shut down Andrews. Ravens game plan against Kelce because he cooked him in the playoffs. I don't agree with this. I don't know how you even come to that conclusion, that was the game plan. It looked very obvious to me, Jay, that both of those guys are older. Mark Andrews was in an accident. He hadn't fucking practiced in God knows how long, right? I was asking our Discord last night, what was the injury? I know he was in a car accident, but I didn't hear, was it a back? Was it a leg? Was it a shoulder? Was it the ribs? I don't know what it was, because I'm almost positive there was a report, Jay, that he just got back to practice like a week ago. So clearly there's been a large stretch of time where Andrews didn't do anything. But just Kelce and Andrews, and we talked about this on this show, and this is the thing, Jay, we're not going to be right 100% of the time. Nobody will, right? But one of the things that I pride this show on and how we talk about the game is we talk through all angles, Jay. We don't just, he's just been great forever, so therefore he's always going to be great. We said it on here. Is there any concern about, pulling back the workload for a 33-year-old tight end in year like 11 or whatever Kelce's in, right? Like that it's common sense. At some point, these dudes are going to slow at some point. And I'm not saying it's full fade Kelce. I'm not saying any of that. But at some point, when you look at what Kansas City did, Jay, they drafted X Worthy in round 1. They go out, they bring in a P. Ryan. They bring in a Hollywood Brown. Do you think they want to give Kelce the ball 180 times again?
Probably not. Right?
Probably not. And it doesn't mean he's any worse of an asset, but just use some common fucking sense. He's going to have monster games, but this idea that he's just a walking 150 piece out the gate, it's just going to be the same. I think we've got to get out of that mind frame of just, it's always been that, so it's always going to be that. When I watched those two last night, they either looked old, they looked out of shape, they looked tired, but I don't want to use that excuse because Isaiah Pacheco didn't look tired. He didn't look like he was out of shape or rusty. So my question to you is, was it rust, or is there concern about the usage of both of those players?
I would say that in terms of Kelce, it seemed like more of a game script issue, and the Ravens were doing a pretty good job trying to defend him, not letting him get the ball. Now, to your credit, he did look like I'm not going to say he lost a step, but he did look a little slower than usual out there. His cuts weren't quite as sharp. Maybe he wasn't running as fast. I don't know, but it looked like he wasn't quite the old Kelce. And I think with time, that will come. He'll have his big games. You're not really worried about Kelce. The bigger question is Andrews, right? Because when you have Isaiah Likely, who has this monster game where he was heavily featured, Lamar was looking his way, he was basically the only read on multiple plays, multiple routes, or Lamar was running the ball. It's not so much whether I think Likely's a threat. It's clear he's a threat. but can Andrews do enough to remain fantasy relevant? Because I think the way this team is trending, like I kind of went off the top, is likely is basically the wide receiver 1/2 because of his size. Zay's going to be the Z, right, and operate as an X at times. And then Andrews has to find a way to get involved in the passing game. I think he's still going to be great in the red zone, but when you talk about fantasy consistency, those targets that might have went to Mark Andrews may start heading towards Isaiah Likely. And I think that's where the floor of Andrews may be falling a little bit further than we're liking. But in terms of Kelce, I'm okay with them. But yeah, when you have a player who is 33, he's old, he says he wants all the targets, like, we'll see, man. But first week, 4 targets, 3 receptions, not great. It's not what you want to see from Travis Kelce at all, but I think he will get going eventually. It just will take some time. But again, this is a player who had a 900-yard over-under for receiving. And it kind of showed itself already in week 1. He'll have bigger games, but I think much like we're talking about with Mark Andrews, he's maybe going to be a little bit touchdown dependent at times. And like this week, he didn't score, and he really wasn't that great for fantasy.
Mark Andrews ran more routes than Isaiah Likely, 38 to 35. 34% target share for Isaiah Likely. And what's most bullish and encouraging about his usage, 7 slot targets for Isaiah Likely. 58% of the time he was targeted in the slot. That's right there with Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers had 6 targets from the slot. So Isaiah Likely's deployment and Todd Monken's usage of 2 tight ends, which he's historically done, which JRich, I just, because we will be wrong, but how long have I been talking about Isaiah Likely? How long have I been saying this is a good player? And so many times people think football is linear, Jay. People think you get in and you start here and you just go like that, or you just go like that. And that's not how, it's just not how football is played. It's more like a damn roller coaster. Some players it goes like that, but a lot of guys it takes time, or you start off flat and you gradually move up. But once people are so wrapped up in immediate production when you miss what's happening. They continue to use him. When Likely got on the field, he was good for Baltimore. Todd Monken has historically used 2 tight ends. They told you all offseason, we're going to use him. They got no other receivers, JRich. None. It's Zay Flowers and nobody. They got to make a move.
They don't even want to use anybody else. They really don't. Like, they don't even try.
It's not going to work. This type of offense ain't going to work, dog. It's not going to work. They got to do something. But Isaiah Likely, I'll say this. I'm not out on the skis to say he outscores Mark Andrews this year, but what I will say is he's not going to go to the bench. Whatever you want to do with that, do it. I'm not saying he outscores him, but he's not going to the bench and he's not going away, Jay.
Now, Ray, are you worried at all about the King? We haven't talked about the King.
Yeah,
but I brought it up pre-show with you because
let's talk about the King.
He was basically a decoy the entire second half. His first half was okay. You know, he wasn't overly efficient, but Derrick Henry's a guy who needs those carries late in games. I thought they went a bit away from the running game. Now, the issue for me, at least, was it was too predictable. Every time Henry was in the game, they put 8 guys in the box, and if they ran into it, he got no yards, or they just ran play action, and late in the game, especially, you know, mid-third quarter and on, they would pretty much just have him as a decoy out there. They'd pretend to pitch it to him. They'd run some play action, and either Lamar would run it, or he'd throw it to Isaiah Likely or Zay Flowers. So they got to do something to figure out the balance on this team. Now, I do want to point out that Lamar's not going to throw the ball 40 times every single game. That's just not going to happen. He's only done that 6 times in 86 career starts in the regular season. So this is a bit of an anomaly from the way that they play, and I think Henry will be okay. But again, Ray, there is a world where maybe he's a little bit more touchdown dependent than we like to see because this offensive line isn't good, and they depend a bit more on Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers to move the ball. Then King Henry's going to be more touchdown dependent than we were hoping for. And I think that's one fear for me because with the offensive line not looking good, them looking very predictable when they're running the ball with Henry, I think that's going to be a problem for them all year long if they don't clean it up a little bit.
I'm looking at some yards before contact per rush attempt. Derrick Henry, 1 yard. 1 yard. 1 yard, Jay. Man, that's just yards before. It's not a lot. The O-line is problematic. Somebody asked in the chat, how does that gel? How do you fix that during the season? I don't know, Jay.
That's tough.
I do not know. But yeah, Derrick Henry, you got to commit to him. You can't give him 13 attempts and think that that's going to get it done. He's a high volume kind of running back. You've got to feed him. it was weird. The first play of the game, he gets a rush attempt and they pull him off the field and then he's off for Justice Hill. It just seemed like a very weird offensive game plan. I just truly think this offensive line is more of an issue with how they've got to play. They don't have the outside receivers to get open quickly or that Lamar Jackson trusts. We'll see how the Ravens progress, but they've got a very difficult schedule this year, Jay. So real quick, let's wrap up the Kelce-Andrews conversation. More concern on Andrews than Kelce, if I heard you correctly. You're still
definitely more concern on Andrews than Kelce because, like you said, likely is a real threat. But yeah, this is not the Travis Kelce I was buying in fantasy football. This looks like Uncle Rico or Uncle Rico's cousin. This is not what I was hoping for Kelce. But I think the better days will be ahead. I think the question, Ray, is do you think he's going to be a top 3 tight end for fantasy football this season?
No, I don't.
Top 5.
Sure, maybe, but not top 3. Not top. Hey, did you see this thing? Did you see this right here? Travis Kelce before dating Taylor Swift versus Kelce. It's Marshawn Lynch. It's 2 pictures of Lynch for those of y'all who can't see. Travis Kelce. No, I don't think he's going to be a top 3 option. No.
Yeah, it's scary, man. You don't want to see that in week 1. He's the guy that, he can start hot, and this was not it. It was Baltimore, and they'll have easier matchups, but it was not good for Kelce.
And Joe, what's up? My girl Joe's in the building. She said, one thing I've been noticing since the back half of last year is Lamar looks to Andrews quickly, gets off of him. He did that yesterday, too, before he would just throw it and trust him. I don't think I think it's because he's not open. I think he's looking, and he's like, God damn, man, you're moving like a grandpa out. I got to get off you. When your offensive line's not giving you the time, you're going to get off your first read quick, and if you're Lamar, you're going to take off and run. That is why I keep asking, what was the injury? I know it says undisclosed. I'm truly curious. Was it a leg, a back? Like, why did he look the way that he looked? Maybe it's preseason, early season jitters. If that's the case, he needs to fucking play next preseason some games to get going before we get into the season. Anything else from this game? Big takeaways, Jay. How you feeling about some of these players moving forward? I think Kansas City, they look tooled up, and they're only going to get better as they get Hollywood Brown back, as they incorporate Xavier Worthy more. Pacheco, I love the usage in the receiving game and on the ground. Any other big takeaways from either the Kansas City or the Baltimore side?
I would say the number one question is, what do you do with Zay Flowers, right? Because the targets were there. The yards were not. The touchdown maybe could have been, right, if everything went right. He's the guy that, Ray, you and I are a bit opposed on because it seems like he's trending towards this Jarvis Landry type of wide receiver 1 production. And I think for a lot of fantasy managers, depending on the price you're buying or the price you're looking to acquire for, it may be a little bit expensive. And so, and this is where, off the open, I asked you where Luther Burden was ranked, because this is something you're very critical of Luther Burden for. This short, quick touches, have to make the play. Now, again, it's talking about the wide receiver 1 conversation, but what does that ceiling look like for you? And do you think that Zay can be a player who is a difference maker for fantasy football?
They got to use them in other ways, man. I have learned, Jay, one of the things from scouting and looking at routes and analyzing the type of things that score us fantasy points is them screens. That shit don't work, man. Like it does not consist. You cannot out-yak people in the NFL. You just can't do it. Not when you're starting out where everything is bunched up and you're funneling it out there. It just doesn't work. He's got to be utilized downfield more, but therein lies the problem, Jay. He's 5'8", right? He
gets the Brandon Cooks treatment.
And then Lamar's a great quarterback, but he's not Drew Brees. He's not Aaron Rodgers. So when you're back there, you were at the seat. You see how much is going on very quickly as a quarterback when you're standing back there and watching. I think Isaiah, that is why those bigger targets in Baltimore, I think they need to make a move. I would love to see Devontae Adams get moved to Baltimore. I don't think it'll happen. You don't see a lot of big NFL trades, but they need a number 1 wide receiver that's of normal people's wide receiver size to open up some stuff for Lamar. And why Baltimore thought they can roll into the season with Bateman and Nelson Aguilar and Tylan Wallace, very egregious on that organization's part, in my opinion, Jay. All right, we got over 525 people here on YouTube. Y'all know what it is. Intermission, listen to them sultry sounds and run those likes up. New giveaway thing coming back right after this. Run them likes up, and I'm going to show you what we're giving away. New error shit, too, Jay. Let's go. All right, welcome back in. Welcome back in. Hit the thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe. Jay, we haven't talked about this, and this isn't the official announcement, but we've got a new sponsor for the show. New Era hats. Give me an air horn. New Era hats sponsoring us. So we've got some cool stuff that we're going to do this season. So they sent me all 32 teams, Jay. I got 32 New Era snapbacks. You know I'm not a Dolphins fan, but I got 32 of these. Brand new. Bunch of stuff. Lions, all the teams. You got the Rams, all the teams. New Era, Baltimore, KC. So we'll have these all throughout the season. And they're also going to send us, you know how they do the salute to service and like the different type of hats. We'll get all kinds of shit from New Era this year. Clearly, I will never don one of these on my head. It's Cowboys and Raiders all day, baby. But at the end of the year, Jay, I want to give all these hats away. We'll probably have like 50 different New Era hats. So fans of the teams, fans of the show, if y'all stick around, and what we'll do is at the end of each show, when we get to that point, we'll do it starting in week 2. We'll do like a comment, KC, Chiefs Kingdom or whatever in the comments, and we'll pick a winner. We'll get the winners notified and identified, and at the end of the season, I'm mailing all 50, 60 of these New Era hats out. So shout out to New Era. Shout out to the confidence that they have in us and what we can do over here on this channel. And appreciate everybody that watches this show, Jay. But we do have a game tonight. The Eagles and the Packers. They playing in Brazil. Where are they playing at, Jay? What's the
Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo. Yeah, there we go.
Sao Paulo.
Let's go, baby. Well, Jay, let's talk about it. Eagles. Oh, my bad. That's Marshawn. Eagles and Packers. Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, JRich. How we feeling about this game tonight? And we're gonna pull up some numbers and talk through, because I'm Jay. It's funny how these damn sports books, you just get there and they're right on the money every single time. And I think it's important to kind of look at these lines and talk through how we feel about some of these players. So, Jay, start us off. Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, Packers, Eagles. What we thinking?
So the biggest question mark for me is going to be the defense of the Eagles, right? This is a team that allowed the most pass attempts in the NFL on defense with 635, if I remember correctly, for over 4,200 yards. Now, we know that they did try to add to their secondary, but this is facing off against a Packers team that, in my opinion, Ray, could be top 5 if everything goes well in passing, but should at least be top 10. And I think when you talk about Jordan Love, you could look to the over at passing yards. You know, it's right around 260, depending on where you look. But the bigger thing for me is that all of these playmakers, Ray, 40 yards, 45 yards. And the line that I'm looking at probably most intently is actually Jayden Reed's line, depending on where you're looking at it. I do like the yards, but I believe the receptions is at 3.5. And Ray, I don't know if you know this, but Jayden Reed, even with his low snap share at times during games, they finally pulled it. But he's hit that in 9 straight games down the stretch from week 9 all the way through week 17. Whether he had a 40% snap share or a 70% snap share, he hit 4 receptions in every single game. And this is a guy that we expect to have an even bigger season this year up against the Philadelphia defense that, in my opinion, I'll believe it when I see it. When you talk about improving, with 652 pass attempts, almost 4,300 yards, and 35 touchdowns through the air. So until they actually show they're a better pass defense, I'm willing to bet on the slot player playing with Jordan Love. So Jayden Reed would be my number 1 target. But Ray, I do have to ask you about those outside receivers, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. If you had to pick one, who would you start for fantasy football?
Well, real quick, you liked Reed's 3.5 catches, 8.4 fantasy points. Can you get us 8.5 fantasy points tonight? If he's going over 4 receptions, Jay, 8 fantasy points? Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the touchdown odds. He's the highest of all the Packers receivers for touchdown odds. I do like it. I have him based off DraftKings numbers. He's projected for right around 11 points right now. That's with the touchdown as well. But yeah, I think he can get 4 receptions. And the reason why I talked about the yards is because he averages 12.6 yards per reception. So if he's going to get 4 receptions, 12.6, he's at 48 yards and his line's at 43.5. So he's right on baseline there. So I do like Jayden Reed a lot. I think he's going to be the primary focus, whether it's in the short passing game and on third downs. People are concerned about the snap share, but I think, you talk about the outside receivers, they'll get involved, but Jayden Reed should still be the number 1 target in this offense.
All right, you asked about the other receivers. Romeo Doubs, and let's just talk about it. 3.5 receptions and no yardage lineup for Romeo Doubs here. You got Christian Watson at 3 receptions and 38 yards, and then I think Dontavian Wicks, 2.5 catches.
Yeah.
29.5 yards. So when you're looking at all the outside receivers, because Jayden Reed is the slot, where do you have the most fantasy football confidence versus this Philadelphia revamped defense? You got Quinyon Mitchell on the other side, big play Slay, even though he didn't want to go, he's going to be there playing cornerback. Which one of these receivers and these, I'll just say this, when I see 2.5 for 29 yards, it doesn't make me want to start that player in fantasy football.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? It just doesn't make me feel good about that.
Yeah, I mean, based off projections, right, you have Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs with basically identical numbers right now on the books, and as you can see by these numbers, and it falls them in right around wide receiver 45 and 44. And then if you want to get into Wicks, he's wide receiver 61 right now. So it's not looking so good for those guys. I would bet on Doubs personally. I think he's slightly better in the red zone. And I think there is still question marks as to what Christian Watson's going to be this season. Every year, hamstring injury this, hamstring injury that. This is the first year he hasn't had a hamstring injury coming into the season and should assume that wide receiver 1 role, but the books are saying it's a toss-up between him and Romeo Doubs. And so I am tempted to kind of take Doubs just because of the consistency. He's played more with Jordan Love than Christian Watson has, but I wouldn't be shocked if Watson had a great game. I think that somebody is going to go off for this Green Bay offense.
What do you like for Doubs? The fantasy points or 3.5 catches? And isn't he dealing with an injury? I'm just asking the question.
I don't know if he's dealing with an injury or not. I can quickly check, but I would look towards the yards if he had them. But it looks like the yards aren't up right now.
There are no yards.
Because that's with Doubs, with Wicks, and even with Watson to some extent, I'm not necessarily looking at the receptions because they're guys that can catch a big play and then it's kind of done for them after that. Like, I'd be actually looking at that Wicks under 2.5 receptions because if that line gets juiced at all, I mean, do you think he's going to catch 3 passes in this game? He's probably going to be limited volume, 1 or 2 opportunities deep. Like, would you even look at that for Wicks? Because he's not a guy who's going to see high volume. He's not going to be Jayden Reed. He's not going to be Doubs. He's not going to be Watson.
So here's my question.
The third receiver outside.
Here's my question. Let me ask you this. How do you feel about Jordan Love's 255? His line is 255 passing yards. You were spot on with Lamar yesterday. Let me give you credit. You nailed the Lamar line. You said
game script kind of,
You got it. You said over 218. You felt good about it. Lamar cruised over that. You nailed that one. Jordan Love's line just moved live on us. Just dropped down to 254.5. So if he's throwing for 250 yards, Jay, Wicks and Watson they're not going to all fail. Somebody's got to catch the ball in the offense, and that's the push-pull here. So if you like Jordan Love, you got to like one of those receivers as well. Jalen Hurts, 242 passing yards for Hurts. You got A.J. Brown, 5.5 receptions. Devontae Smith, 4.5 receptions. A.J. Brown, 73 yards. Devontae Smith, right at about 60 yards. Where are you at with those 2 wide receivers for Philadelphia?
I would probably be looking more towards Smitty in this one. I just think Smitty's going to have a great game. I think the biggest question, Ray, is how much do they use Barkley? Because in this Kellen Moore offense,
that's the question.
Right? Like, we should expect them to use Barkley a lot. Like, Kellen Moore loves his running backs, and he uses them heavily, especially against a Packers team that does have a good secondary. I think there could be a world where Barkley has a great game, but trying to pick between Smitty and Brown week 1 is tough. Like, it's tough. This is a new offense, and talking about Hurts' passing yards.
We draft Devontae Smith so high, and he's at 4.5. Can he get you 5 catches, JRich? Like, why?
Absolutely.
Why would you draft this guy if you're not confident he can get you 5 catches?
But that's why I would lean on Smitty more, because his lines are slightly less, and I think he's got just a similar ceiling. So when you just look at what he can do, I'm with it, right? Like I do like Smitty a lot to get 5 receptions. It's when you're asking someone to get 6 or 7, he's going to see top coverage. Jair's probably going to be all over AJ Brown in this game. And if that's the case, then give me Smitty, because Smitty's going to see the easier coverage. He's probably going to have the better game. And I think at some point we're going to have to see Hurts unleash that arm a little bit. But there's question marks about protection. There's question marks about the offensive line. There's question marks about the offense as a whole. I think there's reasons to kind of go a little bit lighter on the Eagles offense in this game and trust, that bad defense of the Eagles and lean more on what we expect from Green Bay. But Ray, I have to ask you, I'm a big fan of Josh Jacobs, but I don't know if I love his lines because it's just the workload. What does it look like? Is he going to get that 60 total yards easily? I don't know if it'll be easy, but I think he'll be heavily involved in this game.
Of all the Jacobs lines that I'm looking at, I like the 2.5 receptions for Jacobs. We know he can catch the ball. There is no A.J. Dillon, Emmanuel, like nobody else is going to catch the ball out of the backfield. I think I like this over 2.5 receptions for Josh Jacobs, Jay. This is a game to where if things, coverages are a little different, he's trying to figure it out. Quick couple of dump offs to Josh Jacobs. I absolutely love this 2.5 line for Josh Jacobs. So we're going to add that to the slip. We got Jacobs over 2.5 receptions, Jayden Reed over 8.45 fantasy points. And let's talk about Saquon Barkley, Jay. 15.5 rush attempts. Last night, we were both in on Derrick Henry's 15.5. That did not come to fruition. Isaiah Pacheco, by the skin of our teeth, we got through 14.5 rush attempts for Pacheco, but it wasn't there, Jay. And I don't know if that was the game script or the game plan, but how do we feel about Saquon? 86.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. Can't bet anything on rush attempts either right now with Saquon.
Yeah, so 86.5 is a fine number. I think he's probably going to come close to clearing it. I don't know if I would bet on that personally. It does seem a little bit high. But you know what one I actually don't mind at all is that 10.5 for his longest reception. That one is actually a pretty good line because he's a guy that if they throw him a screen, which Kellen Moore can implement screens and stuff, short passes in the offense, that's not too bad for him. You look at 13.5 fantasy points, he should fall in right around 15 or so. That will depend on if he scores. But how do you feel about him scoring, right? Because it's the question, would you rather bet on Jalen Hurts to score or Saquon to score? Because one of those guys is probably going to score a touchdown, Ray. Who are you putting on this slip? I'm putting you on the spot.
I think they brought Saquon in for a reason. As bad as Derrick Henry was, even when they got down to the goal line, Derrick Henry ran the ball in. Isaiah Pacheco, they got to the goal line, Isaiah Pacheco pushing the ball in. I don't think they want to tush-push it just yet. Maybe they want to save Jalen Hurts' neck for later down the season. I'm going to err on the side of they brought Saquon Barkley in for a reason. That's to give him the ball. That's to take pressure off of Jalen Hurts. I think if they get inside that 2-yard line, it might be Saquon Barkley. At least he'll get a shot. They're going to give him a crack to score. If he can't get it done on first or second down, it might be tush-push. But I do like that 10.5 line of receptions for Saquon Barkley. We're going to lock this in. We're just going 3 picks.
Give me the Barkley touchdown because that was the correct answer for everyone who was watching at home. Barkley is the right answer. If you're betting on someone to score a touchdown, the answer is Saquon Barkley. His odds are slightly better than Jalen Hurts. While I love Jalen Hurts, his odds aren't as good. So give me the Saquon Barkley touchdown. Love that as well. But yeah, Jayden Reed, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. Easy. I wouldn't go crazy, like I said, on this Eagles offense. I do want to see it a little bit. I think you're absolutely right that Barkley's going to be heavily involved in this game. But the question is, Ray, who do we got next? We got Tua and T-Law next. I like that. Real quick, we only got a few minutes left. So Miami and Jacksonville on Sunday, Jay. Miami, Jacksonville. We're just talking heavy hitters really quickly. Devon Achane, 52.5 yards. How do you feel about him? 52.5 yards versus Jacksonville. I do kind of like it. I think the bigger point is he's trending towards the lead back in Miami, which is a bit of a surprise, but yes, I do like it.
Raheem Mostert, 43.5 yards for Mostert.
I'd rather take him just to score a touchdown personally.
Okay, and on the Jacksonville side, Christian Kirk ain't practicing forever. Let's talk about the rookie Brian Thomas versus Gabe Davis. Interesting numbers, Jay. BTJ, 40.5 yards. Gabe Davis, 37.5 yards. Who would you prefer if you had, like the books and the money are saying Brian Thomas over Gabe Davis. How do you feel about that?
I'd be looking to the Brian Thomas longest reception, right? I really wanted to take the targets or the receptions or even the receiving yards at 40.5. But all preseason, all we saw, Ray, was deep shots to Brian Thomas. And I think if you're betting early, you should bet on the longest reception because you only need one and it'll cash. And I think chances are he's probably going to catch or at least receive a 20-plus yard target. So for me, the longest reception would be the way I'd play him. Same kind of with Gabe Davis. But yeah, Brian Thomas clears him in receptions, yards, and touchdown odds right now for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, okay, Jay. Buffalo, Arizona. I'm just going to Marvin Harrison. We're just looking at certain players.
Over.
59 over?
Over.
Right.
I already have a Marv ladder out there.
Smash it. 59 and a half yards. Over.
And then the other guy is Shakir too. If they have Shakir up. Shakir's yards are low.
43 and a half for Khalil. We're smashing the over?
I like the over for Khalil Shakir at 43 and a half. I have a ladder on both of them right now to go to the moon.
All right,
but yeah, Marv, you're not going to see Marv at 60 ever again. He's lower than Malik Neighbors this week.
All right, Jay. God damn it. We got 2 minutes, man. Quick. We're at Houston and Indy, Jay. Houston and Indy. Did anything... Man, that 224 line for JRich seems quite aggressive.
That seems high, right? It seems high, right?
Seems quite aggressive. Okay, Diggs, 60 and a half. Dell, 54 and a half. And Nico at 67 and a half yards. JRich, anything in this game tickle your fancy?
You're looking at the wrong lines, Ray. Give me the Mixon touchdown. Mixon's absolutely scoring in this game. No questions asked. Everyone wants to talk about Tank Dell. Everyone wants to talk about Stephon Diggs. Everyone wants to talk about Nico Collins, CJ Stroud. But the guy who's going to produce for fantasy week in and week out is going to be Joe Mixon, whether you like it or not. So just give me the Joe Mixon touchdown. It's happening this week. It's happening.
All right, let's see if we can get one more. I'm greedy. Oh, Cincinnati.
Should we just take T. Higgins overs just in case?
Versus New England. Jay, okay, Chase is up. 66 and a half yards for Chase.
Bro, that's so low for Jamar.
Where's T? T is 57 and a half.
People, this is New England we're talking about here. New England.
Oh,
the only thing though is the only thing I don't know is I don't think Christian Gonzalez travels, and I'm pretty sure he plays on the left, which would be T. Higgins' side of the field.
JRich,
and I don't really want to play him against
Burrow over 1.5.
That's it. Yeah, he should hit it, right? Like he definitely should hit it against this team. They're favored by 7.5 right now. I don't know if the line's moved, but they were 7.5 after they moved from 9.5. It sounds awfully low. So, but Ray, look at the Patriots real quick, because who would be your hidden value for receptions on the Patriots? Those garbage yards, those garbage production from the New England Patriots. Because it could be KJ Osborne, honestly.
Well, there's no.
Look at those receiving yards.
I was looking at KJ Osborne.
6.5, man. That's so low for a dude who's probably going to see. They're probably going to throw the ball at least 30 times, and he's only going to catch 2 passes.
Yeah, we're getting out of this game. We got getting out of this game. Let's go Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and we'll stop.
Ooh, Darnell Mooney overs?
We're going Atlanta, Pittsburgh. Bijan, 63. London, 60.5. Kyle Pitts and his, I don't know what's going on with Kyle Pitts.
Maybe not injured hammy?
Yeah, maybe not injured hamstring. You've got Najee Harris, 14 rush attempts. Is there anything you like in here? I don't really...
Not really. What's Jalen Warren's numbers? Do they have him up? Because I'd be looking at Jalen Warren unders probably.
28.5 rushing yards for Warren.
Would you take rushing receiving lower than 47.5? Because I don't hate that if he's injured.
We're going to stick with the 3 picks that we have. We're not going to push it. Marv over 59.5. Khalil Shakir over 43.5. And Joe Mixon, JRich is confident. Gets in the end zone. There it is. Tail that slip. Let's have some fun, even more fun watching the games on Sunday over on Underdog Fantasy. And if you're new to this, just checking it out for the first time, use the promo code ALLGAS. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash.
Nice.
JRich.
Let's go.
I am happy, dude. College football, NFL, Isaiah Likely, and that small receiver that gets jammed at the line of scrimmage, Xavier Worthy, coming through for your fantasy rosters. Jay, hit the music, and let's get ready to get out of here. Let's get ready to get out of here, Jay. Hey, make sure y'all tap in today, 5 p.m. Eastern time. JRich and I on Bleacher Report. We want to run that stream up, so we would appreciate all the love, all the help, all the support by checking out the content. And if you did not see, I dropped a 1-round single QB 2025 rookie mock on the channel. Make sure you check that out today, as well as all the dope content over here on DD Fantasy Football. JRich, Tell people they got to trust that Trinity, man. They got to trust it. Don't worry about anything else. Trust it. Trust it. Get us out of here, JRich.
I just want to say to everybody who tapped into the stream, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to all the content. Check out the podcast feed. Sunday, we will have the Start Shit show from Mitch.
Start Shit.
We used to be the Start Shit show. We're changing. Little rebrand, but excited for that. It's supposed to be at 11 o'clock, but I will get that stream scheduled, so everyone check that out. We'll be back reacting to everything from week 1 on Monday, so make sure you tap in with us, and we'll see you guys next week. We're out. Peace.
Peace.